Why are women angry that men avoid them at work? So I want to play this clip and then I'll get into the actual anecdote from a chick on Twitter.
Could we talk for a moment about Me Too? You've rejected the idea that we should always believe the victim in a
Well, that's
accusation.
obvious. That's
Yes.
what happened in the lynch cases in the 1950s in the United States. The victim was always believed.
Yes, and I was going to say that's fair enough. But why not accept the situation as being the victim deserves to be treated as if she's telling the truth in our attempts to get at the truth? And
Oh, that's absolutely ridiculous. What a terrible idea that is. He's basically saying, let's just go with guilty until proven innocent. Because it's a woman, is that why? That's so ridiculous. What a silly statement.
in doing that, we do our best not to re-victimize her.
Because that isn't how the adversarial system works, and I don't think
But
that we
why
have
not advocate for that?
Because
rather
the
than
adversarial system is a very effective judicial system, and it's certainly the case that among crimes that are falsely reported, crimes are at the top of the list. So there is no believing the victim. There's no reason for people to assume that when they enter the criminal justice system that they're going to be treated with kid gloves or treated easily. That isn't how it works.
Men no longer approach women at work, another indication that Me Too is costing women their jobs. According to a recent study, American men seem to be following Mike Pence's example. They might be upset that Me Too ever took place. Mike Pence appears to be quite the trendsetter. The Vice President of the United States is infamous for refusing to eat supper alone with any woman who isn't his wife. And it appears that working men all around corporate America are now doing the same.
Well, just a little story. When I was younger, maybe 15, 16, 17, right around there as a teenager, younger teenager. I'll call him a mentor of mine. He told me, he said, look, you need to make sure that as a man, if you ever find yourself or try to avoid these situations, but to never be alone with a woman and a child. And if you find yourself in those positions, you need to either bring in a third person or you need to remove yourself, or you need to be sure there's some sort of camera there so that if someone were to accuse you of something, you can have either a witness or video evidence proof that did not happen. And it really stuck with me because, I was pretty young, and that was kind of the first time that I sort of realized that's something I need to worry about as a man. Like, I need to start covering my ass in these types of situations. Not covering my ass, but just being aware. Because as a young boy, you certainly aren't aware of that. You're a bit naive going through life. You've kind of, in a way, you're not getting the male treatment, right? You're still a boy, and you're getting boy treatment from the world. And so that was kind of like one of the, I guess, a grown-up lesson, something that I was taught from a mentor of mine, and it's pretty much stuck with me since. And this was way before all of this, this Me Too stuff was going on. And yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, and I still remember it to this day. But there's a tweet here, and if you can't read it, it says, and it's from a woman. She says, I was talking to a female friend, and she was telling me how lonely it is for her to be working with only men in her team because they all maintain a respectful distance from her as they don't want to come off as creeps, not realizing it's completely isolating. And again, you guys, the ladies played themselves. This is something we are all taught at a very early age in school, what have you. One person can ruin it for the bunch. All it takes is a couple bad apples to spoil everything. And this is what's happening. People are they're going to be weary of hiring women. Specifically, not even specific, I guess, kind of more liberal, leftist, feminist women. I really do believe those types of women are more inclined to do stuff like that, to put out these false, narratives, if you will. But yeah, it's just, and as a man starts to make more money, moves up the ladder, becomes more successful, gains more positions of power and authority, people are going to take advantage. And when I say people, you know what I mean. Like, look at the Trevor Bauer situation. Look at the Johnny Depp situation. Mr. Tate, All that, you can have your opinion on him or whatever. What Russell Brand, plenty, and the list goes on and on. And it's funny how when these men get big and then again they start making money, they start leveling up in life, all of a sudden, here come the accusations. It's quite predatory, and it's redundant, and it's getting old. And yeah, this is what you're going to start to see more and more over the next coming years, is men are just going to stop interacting with women in the workforce, in their workplace.
According to a recent study that will be published in the journal Organizational Dynamics, men are now much less likely to interact with their female coworkers as a result of the Me Too movement. The following are some study highlights. One-on-one meetings with female coworkers are avoided by 27% of men. Yes, you read that correctly. Almost a third of men find it terrifying to be by themselves with a woman. Men are less likely to hire women for jobs requiring close interaction, according to 21% of men, such as business travel. 19% of men said they'd be hesitant to hire a pretty woman. The aforementioned information was gathered from individuals in a variety of businesses at the beginning of 2019. Depressingly, it appears that things have gotten worse since researchers asked the identical questions in early 2018 during Me Too to different participants, and with a greater emphasis on future expectations. For instance, just 15% of men in 2018 and 21% in 2019 stated they would be more hesitant to recruit women for positions requiring close interpersonal relationships with women.
Yeah.
By the way, guys are not the only ones that are terrified of women. Women also seem to be hiring fewer women in general. More than 10% of men and women who participated in the 2018 study predicted that they would be less likely than before to recruit attractive women.
Well, also Generation Z, they identify with feminism more than any generation before them. So to kind of circle back to my point earlier is that leftist women, in my opinion, are more inclined to do something like this. You can agree or disagree. That's fine. But if these are the upcoming workers that employers have to choose from, and full of them, or I'm sorry, a lot of them, right, they come in with these pronouns and how they identify, and they all come from trigger warnings and safe spaces and feminism and gender equality. I mean, these people sound like walking lawsuits waiting to happen. These people sound like liabilities, man. Are these really assets to a company? Kind of sounds like nothing but liabilities, man.
Internalized misogyny is really a bitch. In Me Too, there has been a lot of discussion around grey areas. Due to the fact that no one even knows what sexual harassment is nowadays, this whole harassment thing is very difficult for men. Men are reluctant to even shake a woman's hand for fear that she would perceive it as harassment. It's simpler to just avoid making contact at all. The research completely refutes the claim that men are unsure of what constitutes improper behavior, which is what makes it so intriguing. First, researchers asked participants to categorize 19 behaviors, such as sending sexually explicit emails to subordinates, as harassment or not. Surprisingly, men and women generally concurred on what constitutes harassment. According to Lee Natwater, a professor at the University of Houston and one of the study's authors, most men know what sexual harassment is, and most women know what it is. It is mainly incorrect that men don't realize their behavior is inappropriate, and that women are making a big deal out of nothing. Women define harassment more loosely, if anything. So, there you have it. The majority of guys are well cognizant of the distinction between a nice hug and a creepy hug.
Yeah, and I believe there's a correlation between how angry you might make a woman, perhaps say you cross a line, maybe you display a little bit of political incorrectness, maybe she didn't like your humor and it made her feel some type of way. There absolutely is going to be a correlation between how much you offended her or how offended she is and the accusations she throws out. Because if she's offended, it's like they're more likely to meet. The accusation is more likely to be thrown out. Whereas if you don't offend her, I think it's going to be a lot less likely she's going to try to go below the belt and ruin your life with an accusation. Because These women know how powerful this is. They know the power they hold with this stuff. They're not that naive. And that's why they'll play that card too, man. They know just how brutal it is. And they also know just how much these words they throw around can affect somebody's life. Like, just think about the words that they do in fact throw around quite frequently to shame and name call men. I don't want to name them off, but some pretty vile words, honestly. Trafficker. I mean, some right? Like, these are some powerful words. These are powerful accusations. And they throw it out quite willingly, whatever. So they will play those cards, man, especially if you make some joke that offends them. Or, mate, what is that running meme? It's like, it's not harassment if he's attractive. Shit like that. So it's just kind of best to keep your distance, keep your space, especially if you've got a lot to lose, man. You got a family, you got kids, got a woman, got a good career. You're going up in the ranks. You're going to, as a man, be looking for ways to avoid to avoid risks. It's the same way you got to the top in the first place, is by having critical thought. And for a lot of these men, one of these critical thoughts they're going to have is, okay, things are going great. How do I make sure that I maintain this? How do I make sure I don't lose this? Well, in this workforce in 2024 and on, it's probably a good idea for me as a man to keep some distance from these women. Whether that is just paranoia, whether or not it's true that specific woman would do something like that, you don't know. Maybe you're worrying too much. But again, like I said earlier, all it takes is one person to spoil it for everybody else. And this is what you're seeing today.
They are fully aware of what does and does not qualify as harassment. This begs the question of why so many men avoid interacting with women at work. Perhaps the answer to that question is that many guys are more upset that Me Too even occurred than they are terrified of being accused of anything. They are retaliating against women by refusing to engage with them because they are irate that they have been forced to examine their actions.
No, I don't think that's it.
And the power dynamics they previously took for granted. It's important to note, in my opinion, that the headline of the Harvard Business Review piece providing a sneak peek of the study's 2019 findings is the Me Too backlash. That framing, which is frequently used, indirectly indicates that Me Too went too far and that a backlash is only natural. It's just another instance of victim blaming and a tacit tactic to relegate women to second-class status. There aren't many options that will effectively stop this. If we speak up, they accuse us of whining, term us incels, or say other absurd things. Of course, despite the attacks, we must keep raising awareness wherever possible. I can only think of non-compliance as a viable alternative. To not assist women, converse with women, employ women, or be friends with women. Encourage healthy male relationships. Spend time with your brothers and father. Mend the bonds. Form male hiking, camping, fishing, or hunting groups. Only when the absence of men is clearly felt will they react. When no one is there to assist them with changing the tire, bringing the sofa inside, repairing the door, etc. They don't give a damn about our data on male suicide or our persuasive arguments for why men are devastated by the family court. They just don't give a damn. They won't understand a word you say. What you do matters most. And all you have to do is stop complying. Stop showing up to lend a hand. It's only difficult because of our innate desire for sex. Aside from the internal struggle between the dick and the brain, we wouldn't have any trouble leaving. But keep that in mind if you find yourself being drawn to women like a magnet. Just my biology, that's all there is to it. Protect yourselves. No one-on-one conversations, not even online with female co-workers. If you show up for a meeting with 3 or more people, and there is only one other female participant present, leave the room, get a coffee, and then come back to see if anyone else is there. If she is a subordinate, make plans for a co-worker to attend. If she is your boss, and you are unable to make plans for company, audio record the meeting. Make sure you have at least one other coworker within clear hearing distance if she insists on yapping about things unrelated to work. Don't engage in office romance. Wait until one or the other has transferred to a different company.
A friend of a friend, he was at a strip club and he was getting a lap dance from this chick. And I guess he didn't tip her enough or he didn't pay her enough. And she actually made an accusation on the guy, grape accusation. And I think he's still going through it. But, that's just another example. And, that's very obviously a, quote unquote, low value woman. That's a woman who really wouldn't have any problem doing something like that, obviously. So those are obviously the type of women you steer clear of. But that's just another anecdote. I thought that was pretty crazy. I don't know what the result was. I'll have to check in on that. But yeah, man, you got to be careful out here, especially in the workforce. You really don't have to risk it. It's not like it's super necessary to get close with these female coworkers, is it? So anyways, I'll see you guys later. If you enjoyed that, or if you're new, hit the subscription and a like. There's a ton of you guys who watch these videos, but you're not subscribed. So if you could do that for me, I would appreciate it.